Today we're going to talk about strategies for comparing and ordering fractions. The easiest way to compare fractions is to change them all to decimals or percents and then compare. Now I know in elementary school how you would compare is you would get a common denominator and change all the denominators to be the same number. But when you have this many fractions, it's hard to find a common denominator for all 5 numbers. So the better way would be to change them all to decimals and percents. And since we've already learned how to change fractions to decimals and percents, it should be pretty easy. So let's look at this example. Put these fractions in order from least to greatest. Remember, least to greatest means the worst number to the best number. Okay, so we're going from worst to best. Well, first what we're going to do is change each of these into a decimal or a percent and then compare. Okay, so let's look. 1/3 is one we've already memorized, right? 1/3 equals 0.3 repeating. Right? If you've forgotten that, you can always do long division, because that means 1 divided by 3. 1 is the person, 3 is the horse, because the person rides on top of the horse. So when it's time to get into the carriage, the 1 gets to sit inside, the 3 has to what? Pull the carriage, right? 3 does not go into 1. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract, you get 1 again, bring down the 0. 3 goes into 10 3 times, and you notice that it just keeps going, right? So that's why it is 0.3 repeating, okay? 5/8, we've also learned how to change 8s easily into a decimal. With 8s, whenever you see 8s, you know you can get the denominator to be 1,000 by multiplying by 125. So if you do that, you would have 625 over 1,000. Therefore, the decimal for 5/8 is 625 thousandths. Okay? 3/4 is one you're supposed to memorize. Think about quarters. If you have 3 out of 4 quarters, you have 75 cents. A half is also one you're supposed to memorize. If you have half a dollar, how much money do you have? You have 50 cents. You can add the 0 if you want. You don't really have to, but there it is. Or you can say it's 5/10. 0.5 is the same thing as half. And then this one is easy to change to decimal because it's already in tenths. 7/10 written as a decimal would be 0.7. Now you can leave it all in decimals. If you like comparing decimals, that's fine. I think for most kids it's easier to compare the percents over the decimals. If you do decimals, you can think of it in terms of money. This would be like 33 cents. This would be like 63 cents because a 5 would bump that up to a 3. 63 cents. This is like 75 cents. 50 cents, and you can add a 0 here. This is like 70 cents. So if you want to compare it because it's easier for you to think of it in terms of money, that's fine. You can also change each of these to a percent, right? You just draw the butt. 1, 2, there's another 3 back there. So the percent would be 33.3 repeating percent for that one. Here, draw the butt. 1, 2, move the decimal 2 spaces. That would equal 62.5%. Here, move the decimal 2 spaces, draw your butt. That would equal 75%. Here, move the decimal 2 spaces, 1, 2. That would equal 50%. And then here, if you move it 2 spaces, 1, 2, that would equal 70%. So you can also compare percentages and see which one is the worst percentage, which one is the best percentage, right? Well, what is our answer? Out of these percentages or these decimals, which one is the least amount? Which one's the worst? Think about these as grades. If you got these grades on a test, which one would be the worst grade? Well, it would be the 33.3 repeating percent. This is about 33%, right? So that one would be the worst. So then 1/3 is the least amount because it's your worst amount. The next worst amount would be the 50%. That would be a half. Okay. After that, the next worst amount would be the 62.5%, which is 5/8. Then it would be the 70%, which is your 7/10. And of course, the best grade is the 75%, which is 3/4. So it's a lot easier to look at your percentages or even your decimals in terms of money. The least amount would be 33 cents. Then it would be 50 cents, then it'd be 62 or 63 cents, then it'd be 70 cents, and then it'd be 75 cents. Okay, So that is our strategy for comparing fractions. Well, let's look here. Now, they both start with 5 wholes, so that doesn't really help us. So we need to change these to decimals. 2/3 is one you're supposed to memorize. If 1/3 is 0.33333, 2/3 is double that, so that's 0.66666. So the decimal for this would be 5 wholes, so that should be in front of your decimal, and then 0.6666666. All right, 2/3 and 0.6 repeating are the same. Here, to change this to a decimal, remember with fifths, you can multiply by 2 over 2 and change it to 6/10. So this is 5 wholes and 6/10. To write that as a decimal, it'd be 5 wholes and 6/10 like that. Now they look about the same, except for this one has a bar, which means there is another 6 behind there and more 6s. Behind this one, there's no bar, so behind this number, there's a 0. So which one is greater? 5.66 repeating, or just 5.60? Think of it in terms of money, $5.66 or $5.60. The alligator mouth would face the larger number, which is $5.66, right? Let's change these to decimals as well. 1/4 is one you're supposed to memorize. Think about 1 out of 4 quarters is 25 cents. So here you have $23.25. Okay. Here you also have 23 wholes, so in front of your decimal you still have 23 wholes. 2/9. Remember, there's a trick to the ninths. Whatever number on top is the repeating digit for ninths. So if it's 2/9, it's going to be 0.2222222. If it was 4/9, it'd be 0.44444444. So since it's 2/9, we know that this is going to be 0.2 repeating. So this is 0.2 repeating. Now, in terms of money, this is like $23.25. This is like $23.22. There's another 2 back here, right? So which one is a little bit more? The $23.25. So the alligator will face the larger amount. And that's how we compare and order fractions. Change them all to decimals or all to percents. Makes it a lot easier.